It's Ramsey Dewey over here in Shanghai, China. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Check out this sweet t-shirt. It's got a samurai on it. It's from our friends at xmartial.com. Get your own. And don't forget to use my code Ramsey10 for 10% off everything on the website. They've got some great rash guards, spats, fight shorts, gloves, and other training equipment to keep you kitted out for your training. Once again, use my code Ramsey10 for 10% off everything at xmartial.com. On with the questions. Today we have a question from our friend William Pointer, who says, "Hello Ramsey, I've been following your videos for a while," etc. He says some kind words. Thank you very much for the kind words, my friends. My question deals with the way most karate practitioners are beat up by boxers. This is going to make some people mad. Trigger warning, it's going to make some people mad. Every man already thinks he knows how to fight, until he actually does and gets beaten down a little bit and humbled. Every traditional martial artist not only thinks they know how to fight, like the average guy who doesn't train, but they think, I've trained and therefore my fighting ability must far surpass the average man. I must be an actual samurai. And if that's you, if you think that in your heart of hearts, you're not going to like this question. But I've seen the scenario our friend William points out in this question play out many, many times. I've even lived through it myself. So, pay attention. My question deals with the way that most karate practitioners are beat up by boxers. It is my understanding that martial arts is based on learning to use every part of the body as a weapon. Well, that's the idea. That's the thing we try to aspire to, right? Right. But the reality, not really. Then, if kicks are capable of sticking with 5 times the force of a punch, if you're a good kicker, then you should be able to kick harder than you can punch. Why is it that whenever karate practitioners spar with boxers, they give up their obvious advantage of throwing hard kicks to give the boxer something to think about? Most of the kicks thrown by the karateka are thrown as though they are doing point karate and not thrown with authority. This leaves the boxer free to use his superior hand techniques to beat the karate fighter up. Why do karate fighters give up this obvious advantage and lose to boxers so often? Once again, if you haven't seen the scenario play out, I have. I've seen it a bunch. And if you haven't, well, it happens. It happens. I have a question for you, William, and everybody watching doubting what William has said or typing furiously, "I'm a good karate fighter and I can beat up a boxer," or "my sensei can." Who is probably going to win a fight? A guy who has had a dozen full contact fights before? Knockout, drag-out brawls? Or the guy who hasn't? Probably guy number 1, right? He has experience. He knows what he's doing. He's experienced combat stress before. He understands what it's like. He's not going to lose his mind over the situation. Guy number 2 probably will. But Ramsey, in Taekwondo, we kick each other real hard and we try to knock each other out, and sometimes we do. In tournaments. Yeah, I know. Been there, done that. I felt adequately prepared for my first professional kickboxing match. Many years ago, I went straight from traditional martial arts to professional kickboxing, because I thought it was kind of the same thing. You kick and you punch in karate, you kick and you punch in taekwondo, and you kick and you punch in kickboxing. Same thing, right? No, not exactly. So my first fight ever, first kickboxing fight ever, was against a guy. He held a black belt in Kenpo karate, I think it was. He was a karate black belt. I thought, no big deal. I've sparred with tons of karate black belts, no problem. And he was an amateur boxer. He'd done some amateur boxing before. He'd had some real fights. And I thought, amateur boxer, whatever. Kicks are longer and stronger than punches. Whatever, no big deal. It was a big deal. He landed a bunch of flurries of punches in that fight and won a decision and punished me for 3 rounds for not knowing how to box. But the kicks, I kicked him as hard as I could. I tried to knock him. I tried to knock him out. I actually dislocated his jaw, broke his jaw a little bit. with one of those kicks, and he kept coming. He kept coming. You land one kick, if that kick doesn't put him out, you said give him something to think about. If you're in the middle of the heat of a fight, you don't really think about things. You tend to go more on instinct. The baser instincts, the animal instincts, the attack, attack, attack type of instincts, or the run away type of instincts. But in a boxing ring, if you're a dude who's boxed a few times, you are the former, not the latter. You're the guy following the attack, attack, attack mindset. If you are willing to get in there and do it more than a few times. Either that or you're just a glutton for punishment. I've seen some guys like that too. So in my naivety, I thought the same thing that you were asking this question. Kicks are longer, they're stronger, they have superior reach and range. And kinda. They're also slower. Takes more time to rechamber and reload a kick than it does a punch. Like a lot. Punches are much more efficient than kicks, even if you're a good kicker. I've done a few videos on this channel where we did some experiments. I sparred with some of my students using only Taekwondo techniques, and I sparred with some of my students using only boxing techniques, while they could do anything. Grapple, punch, kick, whatever. And because I have a lot more experience than them, I was able to deal with the situation just fine. But, and this is a very important but, if they were fighting me, the version of me that was 21 years old, from several decades ago, oh man, it would have been a different story. It would have been very similar to that first kickboxing match I had, where I came out with some long-ranged kicks, and the guy weathered the storm and just jumped in on me and closed the distance, and I'm like, I don't have room to kick him anymore, and I don't know how to box. I'm getting lambasted. Oh, this sucks. That's why it happens. There's really no excuse not to be a well-rounded fighter these days. Practicing some hand techniques is not the same thing as knowing how to box. It's not. If you don't know how to connect your hands and your feet together, you don't know how to box. If you don't know how to win a fight with just your hands, you don't know how to box, and you don't know how to fight. Take that for what it is worth, my friend. Thank you for the question. If you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.